Good morning, everyone. This is honestly the third time doing one of these recordings. We're gonna walk through the changes that I've been making to this model, and we're just going to track GameStop as I always do. All right. So 2 days ago, let's look at the chart. Just Google it. Large push down. Uh, and at the same time, a climbing max pain. Yesterday, max pain went up from 26 to 26.5, and then we closed at 26.42, and then an hour later, we were above 26.57. Options tend to close at 5:30, and I know individuals whose covered calls did not get assigned anyways, and so that's fun. That's great. That's interesting. Max pain seems to be going up, right? So let's look at next week's max pain. There is a massive call wall at 30. There's also a large call wall at 25, but I'm under the firm impression we're going to blow the 25s out of the water. Uh, we're going to pass the 25s. We're going to pass the 26s because we're already passing 26s on this week's max pain. Um, we may pass the 27s. We may pass the 28s. But if we pass the 28s, we're probably passing 29. That's just on Friday, though. I am under the firm indication when I look at my ETF model that, zoom on in on this boyo, that as this week goes on, we're probably going to see a correction upwards on Monday. Then we're going to see not much movement until Wednesday or so. And then Thursday and Friday, just up for a bit. And that happens. That's fine. More than anything, I want to know whether we're tracking to a model or for the combo. If the call out left behind by Richard Newton, which is right here, which is the Babe Ruth demographic or the called shot, is correct, then we follow the A model, which is the higher of the two. And we end up on Friday at 33 a share, blowing out even the 30s. Now, I'm not going to guarantee anything, and I'm not going to think that anything's going to happen, but my personal opinion is that there is a chance that we blow out the 30s, and then on Monday and Tuesday, as happened in the previous two short squeezes, uh, for blowing out way too much of the options chain, the drive to cover is what drives the price high, and then they attempt to bring in the shares to cover in pre-market, not during the market hours, in pre-market. The entirety of the market hours are probably going to be declining, and that's okay. Follow-ups, right? Follow-ups. The full model, it still says almost the same thing, but I have been putting in an effort lately to track the price movement downwards that occurs right here about a month into the upcycle, about a month into the upcycle, about a month into the upcycle. I don't know what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have called this purple. I have associated it with a yes. And 1 second, I'm going to correct. And I have been applying the 174 time frame to it, and it lines up with all other swaps. And so this is probably, when I look at the trading view and I look at the Ultimator 5 swap detector, you can see, let's see it, there we go, you can see spikes during the purple events, during, ooh, no spike here, nothing here, only mild. So a purple spike here, which is part of why I want this. And then if I see it again right here, let's zoom on in. If I see a spike up in the Swapinator right after the warrant rally that I expect is going to happen on Friday, then I have some indication that we're into the same pattern here as we see here, as we saw here, right? And just finding, let's not move things around, and just finding these things and charting them out and seeing what we think is going to happen is part of the intention here, right? Okay, the fractal does not indicate anything's going to happen, and that's interesting. But at the same time, the red swap being here, not being here, I will say, is different. Just different. Just plain different. I have little yellow dotted lines pointing out what the different models say and how they diverge, and I'm under the firm impression we are not following the final model. The final model would have squeezed up a week ago. We are firmly following the ETF model, and the fact of the matter is the issuance of warrants. More than likely, if you were a hedge fund, you would have spent last week picking up short positions. Well, actually, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Picking up a short position would make you owe a warrant. You would want to pick up short positions next week. And the best time to short would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Shoot, that is very interesting, actually. There will be a lot of short pressure going down on this stock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right after delivery of the warrants. So these hedge funds are going to receive their asset, their warrants. When they get that on their books, they're instantly going to hedge them just as quickly as they can when they have it secured in hand, delivered. I expect that's probably Monday, Tuesday because of T+1. They're going to start shorting, and they're going to short VWAP, just fill the fucking volume. So I expect Friday at close, we're going to blow out. Thursday, we're going to go up, because if you, as an individual trader, want to have the shares and have the warrants associated with those shares, you need to be you need to be a record holder, which means your trade has to be settled in your brokerage account before Friday. And so your day to buy, last day to buy, is like Wednesday, Thursday, depends on your broker. I would think Thursday. So I expect on Thursday and Friday is when we see this go silly, just silly. I don't know what's going to happen, so let's talk about models, right? The Swapinator is still at a low, so I'm not seeing rehypothecation. I'm not seeing ETF expansion and redemption happen to suppress this. But what I am seeing that's very, very interesting in my ETF model is, I pointed this out before. Last time I had this open, it was 6, 6, and 7. And these numbers, these green numbers, it is not very common to see high numbers for this. And when you do, when it hits the model this far later, it tends to have a upwards trajectory. So you can see a breakthrough to 24 from 23.5 in this specific example. So these previously were a 6, 6, and 7. Okay, the last time I did a video, that's what they were. What I have done is I have moved GMEU from a afterthought where it was just being logged to a member, a full-fledged member of this model. Okay, so the shares of GMEU here have stabilized, give or take, to how large they want this fund to be. Okay, and now it is worth, in my opinion, standardizing and including inside of the calculation. Now what I can do easily is create a comparison right now and show what the difference is. So let's duplicate this sheet, right in front of you. Let's duplicate it. Aww. Wait, it's fine. It's just loading. It actually works. So we can duplicate this sheet, we can take the GMEU, and we can exclude it from this calculation right here, right? Okay. Perfect. We can exclude GMEU. drag that down a few tiles, and you can see 6, 7, 7, 6, negative 19, negative 16, negative 9. And what that creates is the following image. Cool. Let's go ahead and do a side-by-side right now. This, and I would love a sanity indicator right on Friday. Okay, we're going to screenshot that. Perfect. Can you see that screenshot? No, you cannot. That is just fine, though. We'll place it. We'll place it right here. And we will see these side by side, just for the sake of comparison of what including GMEU does to this model, right? Okay. Zoom out just a bit and click the same exact day. There we go. So we see that including GMEU, the dedicated GameStop ETF makes the model, let's say, theoretically, a high percentage GameStop ETF being included in the model will probably make the model more strongly indicate with GameStop or with whatever effect is targeting GameStop, okay? So whatever extremes we see before, we'll probably see now, but more extreme. But all that in consideration, do I think this is more accurate? That's a very, very hard tell right now. Tell you what, let's make one change to, theoretically speaking, presume that the swap that happened for number 4 swap, let's move this from -2 offset to from -4 offset to -2 offset, because there was no downward swap pressure, and then ask ourselves if this is accurate. Because this has been, give it a second. Hi, I believe in you, chart. You can work. There we go. Do I think that before versus after is more accurate? Let's go back to the copy. Let's write number 2. Number 2 is the number we associate with a yellow swap, typically speaking, if that tracks for you all. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that. And then we're going to just side by side these. Call them friends. We're just going to ask ourselves, does this feel more accurate to us right now? I would go as far as to say that it does not. One second. So the true price we see for the average is 26.12, and then in the model, copy here, where we do not include GMEU, we see on the most recent day, yes, so the new copy actually has a stronger divergence, and I may tune the effect of GMEU to be smaller in response, but I'm going to keep it in for a while. Yeah, we start there. That has been the effect that I have changed in the ETF model. We're going to delete this image. We're going to delete the change, or the additional page here, because there's no need to overcomplicate this, right? And that's fine. Keep the ETF. And then this is going to stay at -4, just as if the red swap happened. Slide that on down. I'm keeping the short duration purple downwards effect here, because I do strongly believe that it occurs right here as, not right there, right here as swap activity. Okay. And you see how this model specifically, no, it does not typically do that. That's interesting. Okay. Anyways, anything else of importance? Yes, there is one thing. So Yes. In the tracking of trades, I indicated that I had a $500,000 position in calls, and I was asked if I was really 80% of the outstanding orders, and no, I don't have outstanding orders, and I did not place this trade recently, but yes, yes, I do have this. This is mine. Okay. Uh, the other thing that I found of interest was the conjecture that um, we could be on the precipice of a market crash. And so my macro sense is to do the bare basic. Hey, what's the what's the treasury curve doing? And second, what is the federal funds effective rate doing? And so the yield curve, do I think we have had a positive, not like that, please. Yes, do I think we have had a positive enough upwards movement in the past, let's say, 6 months to indicate we could be at the place in which we would call a market crash? Yeah, sure, look at it. A large upward swing in the yield curve occurring, typically speaking, indicates a market crash. You can see it happens in 82, in 90, in 01, in 08, and in 2020. Um, yeah. And so if I look and I say, hey, we have an upwards trajectory in the 2 year, 10 year, or 10 year, 2 year, my bad, uh, yield curve, great. That is the exact time and place in which you could expect a market correction. So let's go next to the federal funds effective rate, right? What's been happening here, right? Typically speaking, what I expect to see, even if I were to like block out my eyes, I don't look at the graph. What do I think I see in the case of a market crash? Um, I would see a upwards movement to slow inflation, and then a stop where any higher, and we would start to affect unemployment, and then the Fed saying, actually, unemployment is going up, and so they start to drop it, and then they say, any more dropping here, and we're going to blow up the market ourselves, and so they hold. When they stop holding and give up, like truly give up the premise of holding inflation to their given target, as has been the actually, yeah. When they truly give up holding inflation to a given target and they choose to inflate out, that's typically speaking the time and place in which the Fed says, we're going to blow up the market now. So, what am I seeing, right? I see let's go to some back examples, right? In 90, I see ramp up, a drop, a cliff, with some minor increase, decrease, increase, decrease, then drop. And as we drop, I believe by February of 91, we have had a market crash. I would even go as far as to say by December of 90, we have had a market crash. So, 1990 S&P 500 chart. I would love to see the year 19. Interesting. Interesting indeed. No market crash in 1990. Let's keep going. I'm allowed to be wrong. Let's keep going. I would like to go back now. One more back. Where was my tab then? Yes, the funds rate. Let's go to 2001. I'd love to see 2001. Perfect. And now, when I look, where is the cliff? Where is the slowing? Here's the slowing. Interesting. There is no large ledge to grasp onto, but I will say in March, we should be seeing by April, when there's a slowing then a speed up, I should see by April a crash. Let's check. They will not separate out months for me. That's fine. What can I do to support myself? January, February, March, April. January, February, March, April. So I am looking for I'm looking for a half. Oh, there we go. April of 2000 is still up. It takes until May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. It takes until January 2001 for a crash to truly start, and then that crash runs until January of 2003. From 2001 January to 2003 January is the duration of the '01 crash. So, let's look. I'm about to sneeze, 1 second. Bless me. This fine day. Okay, so January of '01 we start declining, and all the way until January of '03. Yeah. So the Fed's just copying the markets. Let's look at '08. The Fed starts to notch downwards in July of '07. They put a stop to it in May. Let's check out '07. I would love to see months again, please. Is that in our capability? Gee golly williger. Oh, okay. April, May. Let's look at October of '07. October, we've already cut rates in prediction of this. Yeah, we cut rates. May of '08. Let's check out May of '08. May of '08. Yeah. We start to recover on the market. And so we pause rate cuts. When rate cuts resume, September of '08. September of '08. Because the market's crashed. And so I think it's as simple as if unemployment goes up or the market goes down, the Fed would cut rates. And so I do believe these rate cuts are in response to unemployment, and I believe the unemployment or the rate cut will result in the market going down. And so in this specific scenario, I think I'm in alignment with him. Alright, let's just give a once-over to all the major things. If we do blow out the 30s, yeah, I'm massively in the money at that point, but it doesn't matter. With the model, covered the purple edition. With the ETF, I covered the addition of GMEU. The Echo model is always the Echo model. It doesn't necessarily change. The cash on hand in my scenario here is including Bitcoin as a digital asset and is included inside of the cash calculation. I could see what happens if I remove that. Let's see. Let's take this. Let's remove it. Let's see what happens if I remove Bitcoin as an asset from our ETF. I've removed Bitcoin as an asset. Huh. By golly, that might just be a bingo. You know? Do I think that the cash per share times 2 just doesn't include Bitcoin in this scenario? Because this is looking entirely possible. Let's switch this to a -2 instead of a -4. Because that tends to track better. We're close. We are most certainly close. Tell you what, I don't know. Let's turn this into nothing. What happens if we treat it like there is no swap at all? Yeah. Then I don't have an explanation for the downward movement at that point. So I'm going to keep that at -4. Thank you. And I'm going to keep Bitcoin excluded. And if we start matching this curve, we start matching the curve. If we don't, we don't. For now, go into the cash model. Control Z this. Keep Bitcoin here as a digital asset. Go into reported cash. No, go into total cash. And I am going to remove H167. Perfect. And I'm going to drag that on up. Okay, now we go into the ETF model just to verify that I haven't messed anything up too badly. I have not. And we find out on Monday if we jump all the way to $27.92 a share. And if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. Okay. There's a short discussion about Max Payne here that we could have, but I don't have anything to add that somebody who's better at options trading couldn't add already. I would encourage watching outlier trading for that sort of thing. So I think with that, I'm going to call it. This has been just looking at the old Richard Newton GameStop models that I've been keeping up to date and just walking through all of the different things that have happened and where I'm at with it. Thanks.